Hi there everyone, this is Scott Nicholson and welcome to Scott Stuff. In these videos I do all sorts of unusual things, and today I'm going to talk about a very unusual game from Finland. Now Finland seems to bring us many unusual things. In fact, some folks have pointed me to this YouTube fellow who has hundreds of videos out there, and he's from Finland. Now, I don't see the comparison there. I mean, his beard is black and grayish, and mine is reddish brown and grayish. So, huge difference there. I don't get it at all. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is a game called Tornado Alert, boop, boop, that some folks in Finland sent to me to review. Now, I'll get requests from small publishers to say, hey, Scott, would you consider my game for review? And I always ask them for the rules, and I read the rules. And I can usually get a good idea if I'm going to like the game, going to be interested in it based upon the rules. If the game is something about taking cubes of one color and turning them into cubes of another color in order to get victory points, probably not going to be too interested in that. I've gotten a little burned out on that kind of game. But sometimes I'll read the rules and I will say, I have no idea how this game is going to play. Many times I can. It's kind of like someone, if you've cooked for a long time, you can read a recipe and say, you know, I have a good idea how this dish is going to come out and I don't really want to make it. But with some games, I read the rules like this one and I said, I have no idea how this is going to play. I've played the game 3 or 4 times with different groups of people, and it's not like anything else that's out there. I still really don't know if I like this game, but I keep coming back to it because it's weird. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the game. I'm giving no judgment. I'm giving no recommendation of this game either way, other than to say it is an unusual gaming experience. So again, the game is called Tornado Alert, about the many tornadoes in Finland, by Hyptic Games. It's for 2 to 6 players, and it is an unusual game. The rules come in all sorts of different languages, so you should be covered here. But we'll talk about the rules in English because that's what I'm used to. Now, in this game, you are going to photograph tornadoes, and so the idea is that you're going into various dangerous locations to photograph tornadoes. The more dangerous the location, the higher points that tornado picture is worth. So 6 is the most. So 6 is this view here of this guy on top of a tower. Oh yeah, let's photograph from here, as compared to other ones which are a little bit safer, taking pictures from a car. And so that's the idea. So you're going to have a card, and that card's going to represent your current location and where you're taking pictures from. Now, you're going to collect these cards into a stack, and whatever is on top of your stack at the time is where you are. So if you're in this one, you're obviously in, I'm not really sure. Anyway, so whatever's on the top of your stack is the location that you're in, and that's important because you'll have some cards that come up that show tornado, and the tornado cards show one of the corresponding place cards. See how it's kind of blurred out? It's kind of hard to tell. That's a bit of a frustration with the game, but if you look, you can usually figure out which one it is, and if you happen to be here because this is on top of your stack and that comes up, then bad things happen to this card. So what's going to go on is that as the game happens, you're going to have a stack of cards. The top shows wherever you are. If disaster hits that spot, then many times what you're going to have to do, like the example I showed you earlier, is you're going to have to take that high point card, flip it upside down, and put it under your stack. At that point, it's not worth anything. Now, your final score is going to be the average of your cards. And what that means is that you're going to sum all the numbers that you see. You're going to count 0 for cards that are face down. You're then going to divide it by the number of cards you have, and that's your score. So your score is going to be something like 2.34 or 1.72. The fewer cards you take, then the more delicate that average is to being adjusted. If you take lots of cards and then you get a couple face down ones, it's not so bad. How do you calculate the average? Well, the game presents you with mathematical tables. That's right. You can just use this handy-dandy math table, look up the number of cards you have, look up your total, and figure out what your score is. That's right. It's math tables. Again, weird game. So your scores are these weird decimal point scores. There's other bizarre stuff that goes on, but I guess I should actually explain how you get the cards. So the way it goes is on your turn, you're going to take a card from your hand and you're going to play it face up on a stack in the middle of the table. Then it's the next player's turn. They take a card from their hand, they play it face up on a stack in the middle of the table. You always draw after you play a card. At any point, if you want that stack of cards, you slap it, and then you get to take cards. The number of cards you take is dictated by the number on the top card. So if I slapped this card, I would have to take 6 cards starting with this one going down. So now the game has averages you're calculating, and it's also memory. You have to remember what's come up. So if you see some card that's a 0 or a 1, those are bad cards. You don't want those low cards. So you have to count in your head, how many cards am I away? If I were to slap this and I take 6 cards, what's going to happen to me? Because there are bad cards that you can run into. The zeros are bad cards because they don't count for anything. But there are other cards that do bad things. Like there's this guy, this ninja in red pajamas guy. This guy basically eats your entire stack. Oh, nom nom, and it all goes away, including him. So he's usually bad, although if you've had a rough time, you might choose to take him, get rid of your stack, and kind of start over. There's other ones, like this one. Now, this one I'm going to just read the rules to you on, because it is an unusual card. This is the Swindler card. At the average score of the player's points pile is 2.9 or more, the Swindler, with the Swindler card included, a bonus of 0.6 points is added to the average. Similarly, if a player... Anyway, you get the idea. Weird, weird stuff. And so there's a couple other bizarre cards. There's one that if you cut to that card, you get to add one to your average, but if it includes the card in your stack, you subtract one from the average. So it is a bizarre little game. Now, at the end of a round, you're going to have a score, and the score is going to be, again, 1.75 or something. The game is played in 3 rounds. And at the end of round 1, or at the end of round 2, if you don't like your score, you can cross it off and have it not count. And then you have to count the other 2. You have to take the score from round 3. So after round 1, you can choose to keep that score or dump it. After round 2, you can keep that score or dump it if you didn't dump the one from round 1. And then the end game score is your lowest score from all 3 rounds. So you play 3 rounds, you can throw out the one from round 1 or round 2, and then you take the lowest score of those 3 for your final score. So it's bizarre. The gameplay is a bit of speed because you're deciding when to slap it. It's memory. You're doing some quick mathematics. You're watching for those bad cards. You're trying to keep track of where they are. And then there's a variant. And in the variant, you take away turns completely. At any point, anyone can play a card onto the stack, and that continues the game. So now you're playing cards out of order, and it's just wacky tornado finish, bizarrety fun, I think. So that's Tornado Alert. It's one of the weirdest games that I've come across in some time, but I keep wanting to come back to it and play it. So I guess that makes it fun for me. You can decide if it sounds fun for you after this description, and I will leave you at that. So watch out for those tornadoes and take care. Bye-bye.